got first place at the UDS Qualifier at Area 51 here in Modesto, California. I won this box, got a cool pins and lanyard, and yeah, so this is my deck profile. I played Pendulum Magicians today. Not a very well represented deck around this area, so there's only one other person, I believe, playing the deck today, so and I'm glad I took first against so many tough and opponents who gave me a hard time, but I grinded it out and I'm here, so let's check out. For starters, we have 3 Mythical Beast Master Cerberus. Just gets me, it's another extender. Its effect was probably, it came in handy a lot for banishing monsters and just extending to get to my Electromites. 2 of the Jackals to negate effects, and just it's part of the combo to like just set up with your Electromites turn 1. Really good. Racks up so many counters against decks like Sky Strikers. Other cards that give you pluses, the Dark Worm package. Searches your gate, really good. You want to send this to the graveyard with Foolish or Dragon Shrine, and having the additional level 7s really help you to set up with the ideal board of Vortex and having other gates. Ideally, you always want to try to set up a Vortex Dragon, so this is the card that will let you get to that. 3 Chronograph Sorcerers and the 1 Time Gazer Magician. Obviously, this is sort of a pseudo brick, but again, in Pendulum Magicians, or Pendulum, at least in this Pendulum deck in particular, there hasn't been too many like brick cards in my hands today. I've never really bricked at all today, to be honest. I was able to play, at least do something every single game, even if I wasn't able to establish an Electromite turn prior to the Pendulum summon. Didn't really use the effect to special summon from hand too much, because I'm aware that you're able to put up more damage in OTK that way, but it did its purpose of turning into like a level 6 for Dorito, which I'll show you later in the profile. Additional extenders, we have a Curtain Raiser. It's just like another level 4. It's a Dark Pendulum, which helps you make the Dark Rebellion in your extra deck to push for game. For the Pendulum Magician monsters, these were just like the extenders and just kind of like cards to get you to Electromite. These put in so much work. 3 Wisdom Eye, just replaces itself with a new scale. Gets you cards like Black Fang Magician, Purple Poison. These cards were very, very vital and critical to me being able to like grind with my opponents, especially Sky Strikers, Trick Stars, a lot of those decks. Having these in the scales just provided so much utility, and I was able to out big monsters, cut monsters' attack in half, and then reborn Dark Spellcasters in the graveyard at an alarming rate, so that was really cool. 3 Harmonizing Magicians. This helps you delve into your plays with Vortex Dragon, so that's really cool. Helps make Omega and other rank 4s too. Proved to be very, very useful. The attack gain is pretty nice. I've used it in a couple games, just bolstering the attacks by 600 or 700 plus against like Sky Strikers to kind of like neutralize my attack points against the Shizuku, which comes up. Then I played 1 Oath Dragon and 1 Janki Magician. I don't know, it's kind of hard to pronunciate. This card was really good against, because there's a lot of Sky Striker Trick Stars in my locals right now, along with BA. I didn't have to play a single BA player today at all, surprisingly, and I tried to prepare for the deck because it's definitely scary at times. And the Oath Dragon was really good. I kind of regret not playing 2 at times, but I always prefer having Purple Poison at some point in the Pendulum scale to just sort of put up a little bit more of a defensive play by bolstering your attack more and sort of just popping off. I think that was it for the Pendulum Magician monsters, or Pendulum monsters in general. There was 30. 2 Dragon Shrine, 1 Foolish. These serve the same purpose of just dumping Dark Worm to the graveyard to set up for quicker Electromite plays, and it gives you an additional +1. You don't favor opening up multiples of these, but having 3 in your deck was just the perfect number in 40 cards, because I never really saw them in multiples, so it did the job. I never really bricked today. 2 Desires. I was sort of back and forth. I kept on seeing it too much at 2, or at 3, so I cut it down to 2 for other cards I wanted to try to fit in the deck, which I'll show you right here. I played 2 Duelist Alliance, 1 Pendulum Call, 1 Star Pendulograph, and 1 Time Pendulograph. Pendulum Call has already been utilized in some of the bigger Pendulum Magician builds in like numbers of 2, but this is kind of newer. I played these. the Duelist Alliance and the Pentagraphs. This recuperates advantage really quickly and establishes pressure, because if your Magician Pendulums leave the field in any way from the Pendulum Zone or the Monster Zone, you get to recur a new resource, and this puts up a lot more pressure. It's just an additional interaction you get to have with your opponent, because in this deck you're really just trying to board craft as best as you can, and it also really helps if you know what your opponent is playing in the given moment, so you can craft your boards ideally to accommodate their fields. And that's it for the main deck. 40 cards, 9 spells, 1 trap, 30 monsters. For the extra, I'll give you that. 3 Electromites. I was initially playing just two of them, but against Sky Strikers, I kept on grinding to them, like grinding with them a whole lot. So I decided to bump it up to 3. Just access is like the rest of your deck basically. It's really good. I don't know. I'm sorry guys, I'm speechless about it after winning. 1 Zephyr Metaltron. This ideally you just link away the Electromite and the Absolute Dragon to make this card, and then it also serves more pressure, just recurring resources. You can banish cards, which comes up occasionally. The Underclock Taker. Back and forth between this card. I put it back in here because there's certain moments where I ended on rank 4 monsters, and I wasn't able to do anything with them, and maybe just progressing the game state and giving me an additional link or down was really important, so I liked it. And then the attack downgrading was really nice, but in testing in theory. So the Vortex and the Absolute, obviously with 2 level 7s you make this card, and then you just go into your Zephyr Metaltron, and then you're able to progress from there, and you have a card that says I can negate anything, and it's 3000 defense, which is very hard for most decks to combat in the current format. 1 Naruto. This card was really good for negating spells and traps. I'd honestly almost classify it as the MVP of the extra deck, really. Just stopping those Sky Striker cards from activating engages and stuff could potentially just slow down their whole turn and make it to where, they couldn't really progress anywhere past that, especially if they couldn't break the Naruto, being 2700 attack and all. So that was really good. For the rank 4s, I played Abyss Dweller. This came up occasionally. It was really good against Burning Abyss, and there's a lot of Burning Abyss in this area, so I thought it was really good, but it didn't come up too much. I made it against Goki, going in game 2 or whatever. It was pretty good. Tornado Dragon. If I saw Trick Stars being played in the deck, I opted to go to it semi-frequently. It did its purpose. It was pretty good. Carnagorgon. I saw a lot of the other Pendulum lists that topped play this card. Ideally, it was for the Sky Striker matchup to redirect the Afterburner to itself if need be, while setting up with Vortex. I never really made him today, so I wouldn't know how good it was, but it could have been anything else. But I think you should probably still try playing it if you could. I don't know, it just didn't work out for me today. 1 Time Star Magician. I really like going to this card a lot because it serves for the rest of the Magician Pendulum utility, getting whatever scale you want for the Magician Pendulums, and just adds more advantage, which was really important for this deck, because setting up a board of negates I felt like I was losing out on advantage just trying to do that. So I just tried to keep a steady grind game with my opponent, set up a couple interactions, and sort of play a progressive game and sort of grind it out and play actual Yu-Gi-Oh instead of just a break my board type deal. The Supreme King Supreme King Dragon Dark Rebellion. This closed out a couple games for me today. It was really nice. You can make it with just 2 Dark Pendulums, and for rank 4, it's just what it does for the deck. It's amazing. You can put up just 5,000 points of damage, and these new time rules, I mean, that's make or break. Supreme King Dragon Clearwing. This was Raigeki, and it came up a few times. I didn't have too much, I didn't come into too many scenarios where I had to just break a board of 4+ monsters, but it came up once or twice, and it served its purpose. The last card was Omega. Went into this semi-frequently, especially in the event I didn't know what my opponent was playing. A lot of the time I would always banish a generic card, and it still wouldn't give me intel on what deck they were playing, but it still was really good. Going on to the side deck, we have 3 Ash Blossom, and Joy Spring, and 3 Droll Mothbird. Okay, so I just want to preface this by saying I didn't like maining hand traps Drawing these cards in most of the game ones were it made the hands a little bit worse. Granted, they are interactions and they do something to your opponent, but I don't know. The deck always wanted to see Pendulum cards, and I just sort of stuck to the plan of like the second place build for North America, how he didn't play any hand traps, and he had, I see why he had so much success. He was able to probably play like every single game without, you know, fail, because Pendulums, they need, I would say a grand total of at least 4 cards in their opening hand to make plays, and they have to be like really good Pendulum scales. So this was always coming into the side deck against Sky Striker, Trickstars, stuff like that, and Gokis, just to stop the U board and everything. 2 Danko Sekka. Didn't really come up. I did not see very many back row decks. Still should probably side some form of like disruption with back row, so I decided it for like Trickstar, Sky Striker, but I don't know, like I was able to grind through the back row well enough to the point where I didn't really side it in too much, and I just opted for the 6 hand traps as previously. 3 Called by the Graves. Against Burning Abyss, I really liked this card testing against that deck. Also, I didn't really have any other cards for graveyard-based strategies, so I kind of kept 3 in there just on the off chance that happened. Occasionally, I'd also keep it in for going first against certain hand traps, you know, like against Sky Striker Trickstar again. I'm gonna mention that all day because that's what I played against. But yeah, like it was really good and testing. I just never really sided it in the tournament today. 2 Twin Twister for more back row removal, and it just, you know, 2 discard a card, pop 2. Usually if I had 4 cards and they were like solid and ready to go, I didn't mind having the discard for the Twin Twister, so long as I had like, you know, the cards to make the play. And usually 4 cards was definitely enough to, you know, go about making my plays and sort of breaking their board and progressing and building a grind game with them. The last 2 cards were 2 red reboots, so this is the last back row-esque removal kind of combat card. Against, I guess, Trickstar, you can hit the Reincarnation. I try not to fear too much, I guess, going in. I just sort of did my searches without really much caution, really. But this is also really good against like Altergeist, but I didn't see like any Altergeist in my area. So yeah, that's the profile. Pros and cons of the deck. Pros, really good like offensive strategy, probably the most offensively capable deck in this current format, i.e. I didn't play any hand traps. It didn't have to like, you know, succumb to playing what I kind of saw as weaker cards. So long as you don't play Goki, I would say, you're definitely going to be able to probably grind them out and sort of make them, you know, play smarter and keep the resources, because your deck's also very resource intensive too. I would say the only, like, yeah, so there's that. It's able to craft so many different types of boards against a lot of the popular decks. That's also another big thing. It's pretty adaptable, and it recurs resources. It sticks a couple negates or interactions, goes from there. And I would say the only cons is like it can't main hand traps as effectively. So if a predominant FTK or like FTK deck kind of comes in, similar to the Goki strategy, that's kind of like where, you know, it's sort of like hit and miss. You might have to like take the die roll and lose, or, you know, go against that deck. But Goki was very, like, it was not represented today. There was only one Goki player, and I managed to play him, and he made the top, but, you know, it was a really good player. But yeah.
Any shout?
Shout outs to Area 51, TCG, really good card shop. They made these awesome tokens for me, or I mean not tokens, field centers. They custom make field centers. I'm a big sports fan, so I got my Raiders and A's, you know, going in there. My heart and soul for Pendulums, you know, so I'm happy that I got to sort of embody them in these cards. Yeah, I'm really, what else? Shout outs to all the players I played against today. 1 second. Who did I play against? Okay, it was shout outs to Richard, Mikey, Ken. Dang, I know there's more. Thaddeus, I know you came in top cut. Dale twice, I beat him in the final. And I know Dario and Dale. Yeah, so yeah, really good deck. Go out, definitely should try playing Pendulums this format. Again, really fun deck. I love it a lot, and I'm glad that I was the one to represent it and bring it to a first place finish at our UDS qualifier.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate it. Yeah, thank you.